All right, I'm gonna do a stream here for the 2020 Summer Major. Get the ball rolling. Let's see what we got here. I'm looking at my looking at the Kings chat. What's I doing? Where was I at? What was I thinking? Mr. Brady's in the house. Double gold winner. Look at that. Let's go. All right. We're ready. So, Golf Clash has announced the 2020 Summer Major, and it's going to be at the Southern Pines holes. And once again, like every tournament, this is why Golf Clash, this is why Playdemic doesn't get to sponsor real golf tournaments, because when you go to Augusta, hole number 1 is always hole number 1. And that's not how it is in Playdemic. So we have Southern Pines, we have holes 1 through 9, and once again, we're not following the course, we're changing it up. So, pen and paper, get your notes started. Hole number 1 is going to be hole number 7 of the Southern Pines course. So if you use Golf Clash Notebook, which why wouldn't you? Even though they haven't updated it since the winter major back in February or early March, it's still relevant. So hole number 1 of the Summer Major is going to be hole number 7 of Southern Pines. And this hole has been changed, and I've got images of what the changed holes look like. Hole number 2 of the Summer Major is going to be hole number 6 of Southern Pines, and this hole has also been changed. Hole number 3 is going to be Southern Pines, hole number 8. Hole number 4 is going to be Southern Pines, hole number 3. Hole number 5 is going to be Southern Pines, hole number 9, and hole number 9 has also been changed. Hole number 6 is Southern Pines, hole number 5. Hole number 7 is Southern Pines, hole number 1, and that hole has also been changed. What's up, Desmond? What's up, Timmy? Vintage Golf is in the house. Look at that. Where are we at? We're on hole number 7. Hole number 8 is going to be Southern Pines, hole number 2. And hole number 9 is going to be Southern Pines, hole number 4. So that's going to be the order that they're going to be in. So let's start off with hole number 1. Hole number 1 is Southern Pines, hole number 7. Hole number 7. All right, now hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on. Where are we at here? Somewhere here. Somewhere right here. No, I can't remember what the holes look like. The river bouncing over, river bouncing over. This hole right here. So this was the this is the original here on the left, and the new and improved hole number 1 is going to be the hole that's on the right. It's hard to tell when you're looking at these 2D images, like what it looks like on the course as far as movement, but just kind of giving you an idea of the layout. And I'm not sure as far as distances go. Whether we can still get, hold on, what was I thinking? I didn't get my pen going. How could I possibly do anything if I can't draw on the screen? Here we go, there we go. Now I could be like the football coach and draw all kinds of stuff on there. We're going to do this play right here. So I'm not sure, like looking at it, it's hard to tell as far as distance wise, but it does look like the shot. I think most people who play this hole are going to bring out a big enough ball, depending on which way the wind's blowing. And it really doesn't matter which way the wind is blowing. It's all about bringing out a bigger ball. I think most people are going to play in the tournament. They're going to play on the white line, and it does look like the white line hasn't really changed except for where we're coming out into this area. Now the green used to be where we had the green like this, and there was kind of a ridge going through it, and the pin was right here, and everything fell off on this side and it was flat over here. I'm not sure. The green up there looks completely different, and it does look like you could hit out into this area out here where you're hitting a little more straightforward to try and get yourself a shot coming in. But just like looking at the changes without having actually been out on the course, it does look like the white line is still going to be probably the preferred line. But This is going to have a lot to do with which way the wind's blowing. Before, if you were on the black line, it was kind of difficult because you needed to get out here far enough so that you were still had a shot where you could stay up on the flat, and it was very easy to get over here where when you came up to the green's like this again with that ridge, you were coming up through the downward and then trying to get up on the flat to get to the hole, and it was really difficult in the black line to get up there. The blue line, I played the blue line quite a few times, and the blue line was really wind dependent, but it doesn't look like, I don't know. I still think, like, just looking at this image, just like first thoughts is that we're still going to probably be playing up into this area right here and then trying to come at the green. There may be a rough bump from over here, just depending on how far up you can get. So definitely a long hitting driver, max topspin, trying to get up there as far as you can. It'll be interesting to see what the terrain looks like as far as the green, whether it's sloped or whether it's flat, and how it is, because this area doesn't look like it's that much different, but everything else looks pretty different. So we'll have to see how this hole plays out. But it does look like if you come at it from this direction, there may be a rough bump over here. And if you get far enough out, you could end up coming straight at it and try and get on the other side of that sand trap. If the wind's blowing like this out here might not be a bad deal because you can get behind the wind. If the wind's blowing like this, then this shot's going to be there. So it'll be interesting to see which way they give us wind. Yeah, there's definitely going to be, I think you're right, Des. I mean, I think there's definitely going to be a rough bump opportunity here, which we didn't have before. I mean, there really was no rough bump opportunity on this hole. And this is, Southern Pines has been around forever. So some of the Southern Pines holes are relatively new, or they redesigned them. There's a few holes in Southern Pines that they completely redesigned from the originals. And I think the originals were actually funner to play, but they were harder. But they were funner to play. But it does, this hole right here is going to play quite a bit different, but I still think the white line is going to be the way we drive. So hole number 2, Southern Pines, hole number 6. Hole number 6. And this hole here is also changed, and when you look at the hole versus the changed hole, they don't look a lot different. Let's see if we can get to it. There's this hole right here. So this being the old hole, this being the new hole, and don't worry about the trees. When they show this stuff, there's going to be trees and there's going to be stuff out there. It looks to me like it's exactly the same. So what that tells me is that the changes that they've made on this hole are going to be more about the green. And so the way that this green played before was there was, as we all know, there's kind of a flat area coming up here by the cup, and then everything kind of ran down, and then there was a flat area up here at the top that you could get caught in and get caught on that shelf. I'm just curious to see if they flatten this green out so that there's no more backboard, so it's harder to get around the bend. You can't use the backboard to drop back down to the hole. I'll be curious to see, because it looks to me like the changes that are going to be on this hole are almost entirely going to be green changes on changing the way that the green topography is. But so we'll have to see on this hole how it's going to play. One of the problems on this hole in the past was that if you were trying to get out into this area and trying to actually curl it towards the hole, it was very easy to clip this rough and end up in the sand. And if they flatten this green out, there's going to be more people that are going to be trying to do that to try and get towards the green, and that's going to cause more problems for people. The way that I've gone at this hole a lot, because I've never really looked at this hole as being a high percentage hole-in-one type hole, even though I know there are some people that have a lot of success on it. I like to get closer up at the top, so I was more in front of the sand, and then use my Guardian, and I could use the backspin, side spin, and then I could do curl to try and get it back to the cup. So we'll have to see what the topography is going to be on this, because it looks to me like that's the only thing that's changed is the green, and I can't tell on this 2D picture. That's hole number 2. Be interesting to see what those first 2 holes are. I'm not too disappointed about changes on this hole, because this hole to me was like, yeah, you know, I've gotten holes in ones on this hole, but it's just not one of those high percentage type holes. Hole number 3 is hole number 8 of Southern Pines. Go to Golf Clash Notebook and check out hole number 8. Hole number 3 of the tournament. All right. There's 2 ways that you can go at this hole. If you want to get a birdie with a very, very crappy eagle shot, play the black line. If you want to get an eagle and have a really good shot at an eagle, you play the white line. And I've never really played the white line trying to go over to this side. I always play the white line coming over to this side because it seems like you can get a better look at it. Now there's a lot of different ways that you can do this drive. In one-on-one, with a Titan, with an extra mile, if you line your ball guide up so that your ball guide is right along the transition between the rough and the fairway, you can do, and you take the wind out, you can do a max overpower hook shot with a Titan, and you can get way down in here. Big dog, if you're using a 3-power ball, you're definitely going to want to bring a big dog or a Cataclysm. You're going to want the biggest hitting wood that you can possibly get to try and bring yourself around this way. And one of the things I like about a big dog is it has lots of topspin, it has lots of curl, it's got just enough backspin, so if you're in the right spot, you can do backspin. It's a great club. The only thing it's lacking is ball guide. Excuse me. And if it's lower developed, it doesn't have really good accuracy, but you can get around the accuracy. The ball guide kind of blows. If you bring out a bigger power ball, you can get way down in here. I've actually overdrove this with a power 5 ball doing the max overpower hook. Now you can do a straightforward max overpower shot, trying to hit it perfect and trying to get it down in here, and you can get really good distance. And if you do get down here in better distance, you can bring out a better wood like a Sniper. Lower developed stuff, you can bring out a Viper, something that's got better ball guide. The ball guide is what's really going to help you, because when you come in at it from this direction, that ball guide's really, really going to help you. Now there is a shot that you can do if you can get in the right spot where you can bounce in front of the sand and you can try and do a second bounce, and or you can do a second bounce on this cliff up here on the other side. The way that the green is shaped, it drops off. So like if here's the cup and here's that sand trap over here, it drops off, it's rolling this way and it's rolling this way, and there's like a little center area where the cup is at. I've seen people do it, and I watched this hole right here when I first started playing. I really learned how to go this direction from Zachary Jones, and Zachary liked to do this shot where he would go over the sand and clip that little bit of rough and then bounce up on the green. And I was never really a big fan of that because you really have to get your wind adjustment right. But I think coming around to the right hand side and trying to come at the green that way, and I've done this max overpower hook shot on here, and I like max overpower hook shots on holes like this much better than trying to do a max overpower shot, because when you're doing a max overpower shot, you have to hit it perfect. I mean, this fairway's so wide, you could probably hit a 2-ring great to the left or the right and you'd still be fine. But the max overpower shot, it's much easier to hit when the needle's all the way over here than it is to try and hit perfect when you're doing that max overpower. So there is a really nice max overpower hook shot that you can do here. And depending on which way the wind's blowing, if the wind's going with us, I will typically leave the wind in. And instead of being right where my ball guide's along this line, I will move it over 1 ring and let that push me, because where you're going to get caught up is right here. So the very first time you take that shot, if you do the max overpower hook shot, you're going to know where you need to be immediately. But definitely take the wind out unless the wind's going with you. Or you can just hit it straight forward and try and get it out there. I think we're trying to hit, if I remember correctly, it's been so long, and normally what I do when I do these scouting reports is I put together a playlist. I go through all of my videos and I find videos for all the holes. And I put together a playlist, and then I kind of have some base notes, but I decided I was going to shoot the video for the scouting report first, and then I'll go through and make a playlist, and I'll put this at the top. But I think we need to be in like the 400 plus is where we're really looking at out here in order to give us the best shot to come in. And I think if we're right at 400, you're definitely going to need a big dog. And if you can get farther than that, then you're starting to get into your Sniper range, and you're starting to get into your Viper range, and you're starting to get into a club that's got better ball guide. This is a great hole right here. It's an eagle hole. There are going to be some people that get an Albie on this hole, and it's going to be super rare. So this hole right here is eagle. and there's not, and the percentage wise goes, if you can get an eagle on this hole, there's going to be a lot of people in your bracket that aren't going to get eagles on this hole, so you can get a leg up just by getting an eagle on this hole. Yeah, Desmond, this is definitely going to be a birdie hole for most players that are out there, and you're going to see a lot of people during the week that are going to hit to the black line. I know in one-on-one I see a lot of people that hit over to the black line, and I have no, even if you bring out a marlin ball, you're better off going out here. I mean, it's just, if you do the max overpower hook shot with a lower power ball, you can get way down there depending on which way the wind's blowing. But this is definitely going to be a birdie hole for the majority of the players that are out there, and it is very eagleable, even with a power 3 ball. But if you've got power 4 and power 5 balls, this is going to be this hole can be much, much easier to get an eagle on. All right, that was hole number, what hole was that? That was hole number 8. That was hole number 3 of the 2020 Summer Major. So hole number 4 of the 2020 Summer Major is going to be hole number 3 of Southern Pines. And this is a hole right here that drives me batshit crazy, because it's one of those holes that it's like it's just a moving target. I come to this hole, I'm in the right spot, I got the right club, I got the right ball. I do a 5% and I'm off the cup. I make a change. I do 7.5 or 10% and I'm still right off the cup, or I'm on the other side of the cup, and then I make a change and then I cut it in half, and it seems like the cup is like ha ha. And I know that there are people that have a lot of success on this hole, but this hole always seems like it plays, for some reason, going up to the cup, it just seems like it is a super, this hole is a tough hole to get an eagle on, and if you can get it dialed in and get the eagle on it, this is a hole that will definitely separate you from the crowd. And there are 3 legitimate ways that you can go at it. One of the ways, and the last few times that I played this hole, I've actually been laying up and doing more of the blue line, where I'm kind of laying up out here, and you can bring any driver, you don't have to bring a big ball, you don't have to bring anything, and trying to do a wood shot on the rough bump up here. Now, originally when this hole was created, there wasn't this little area that's up here where we can do this rough bump. This was not like this. It was super steep. I mean super steep. And then you were up on the green and up on the fairway area up here, and you did not want to mess around with this rough bump at all. But they changed it here a year or so ago, and we definitely have a rough bump that we can do right here. Now, you can bring a backspin club and try and get up on the green, and I've taken that shot a bunch of times. My preferred way to play this hole is you can come out here with an extra mile, Kingmaker, and max overpower, max topspin, and try and get in front of this shadow line. So if you can get in front of the shadow line and you have a Saturn, you can either do the rough bump, or you can take your Saturn and you can start off on the green and backspin, try and do a backspin shot straight at it. If I remember correctly, it seems like the last time we were here it was like a 5 or a 10% adjustment. It was not a big adjustment, but there was a slight adjustment that we needed to do. The white line. Now, if you got a power 5 ball and an extra mile, and I tried this as soon as the extra mile 9s came out, I tried this shot, and I mean to tell you, you can get up here. It is hard when you get up into that area because this fairway kicks out right here. And so I found myself in the rough right here quite a few times, but I did end up clearing several times, and I was here and I was right in front of it. And you have a short iron shot from right there. If you can get far enough in front of this shadow and you're driving on the black line and you're coming over here, you can also get, there's a pretty much like if you're right in front of the shadow, you're probably in your long iron. If you get a little bit farther than that, you're in your short iron. If you're in the shadow, you're definitely going to be in your long iron, and if you're on this side of the shadow, you're going to be in your wood. So you can take the wood shot and just come out here with a QB and lay it up, and then you've got a nice sniper right to the cup. Or you can pound it out here, and there's some risk involved when you're doing a max overpower hook shot on this, because you can get caught up in this sand, or you can overdrive it and end up in the rough over here. And you still have a shot when you're over here, but if you fail over in this area, you are sunk. I mean, you are in big, big trouble. The white line, you're going to have to bring out, if you really, really want to go on the white line, a Power 5 ball can get you up more in this area right here so that you can try and bring it around. If you've got an upper developed Apocalypse, APOC, even an APOC 4, APOC 5, you're going to pick up that little bit of distance. You've got lots more curl. You can try and, you're going to have an easier time trying to get it to bleed out into the middle if you're using an APOC than if you're using an extra mile. So if you have an APOC 4 or an APOC 5, especially if you have an APOC 5, you're probably better off if you're trying to go for this area, and you can dig that sucker way up in there. Depending on which way the wind's blowing, you might even actually be able to get up here into your wedge range. And there's a couple tournaments ago that this was in there, and I was trying it on this side, and I didn't have any more success over here than I had on the black line trying to hit here, and I tried to hit out here, and I really haven't had any more success playing any one of those 3 shots. So whichever one fits your game the best. Safety wise, the blue line is going to give you pretty much, because you're doing the rough bump on the blue line, it's going to give you pretty much the same shot that you're taking from here or here, and you didn't have to do any overpower. And you don't have to bring big stuff. You can do this shot right here with a Marlin. So if you've got a low wind ball, this might be one of those holes that would be really beneficial to bring, you know, a Power 2 ball that's got like a turkey ball. You don't need a lot of side spin. So you could bring a low wind Power 2 ball, even a Power 1 ball. I played this blue line out here with a Marlin quite a few times. So this might be a hole that would be really beneficial to bring a low wind ball instead of trying to pound it out there. And in all honesty, that may be better, is to bring a low wind ball and just try and play it back and not try and pound it out as far. All right. Let's, what hole was that? What hole was that? I forgot where I was at. Started talking. Here we go. All right, that was hole number 4. So hole number 5 is Southern Pines, hole number 9. And this hole here has also been changed. So let's go look at the changed hole. And I'll be really curious to see what this hole looks like with the new and improved changes. So the old hole, I really don't have any separation in my mind between the black and the white line on the old direction. There was 3 ways that you could come out at: blue line, yellow line, or the white-black line. The old way, the real legitimate way to try and get a hole-in-one on this hole was the yellow line, hitting off the island. And I did find that the last time I was here on the drive that you needed to do about a 10% wind adjustment on that drive if you were using the island. I've never been a fan of hitting on the blue line because of how you're coming in. It's super, and which way the wind's blowing, it's a super dangerous line. So I'll be curious to see with the new configuration, because they've taken this sand trap out. They've taken this sand trap out, so we don't have that here anymore. And this area that you have to be in order to bring it back over. The benefit of trying to do the blue line was the way that the green was before, is you got your green like this and everything is downhill. But there is a spot down here where the cup is at that was fairly flat. And so if you could come in on the blue line, you were coming in at this direction and you were not engaging any of this hill. And so you had an opportunity to kind of run straight up at the hole. Whereas if you were on the yellow line, you could engage the hill and then just kind of drop back down and you could follow your tail. So I'll be curious to see if in this change, if they've taken all of the backboard out, or if they've changed the hole and how they've changed it, or if they just took the island out, or if they've made it so that this shot over here is now a more viable shot. But in the old configuration, really the only like super legitimate way to try and go for hole-in-one and to try and dial it in was the yellow line, and they've taken that completely out. So I'm assuming that they've opened it up on this side over here on the left, and we may have a better shot at it. But this is another one of those holes that's going to be curious to see what they did with the green, if they took the backboard out, and did they change the way that the backboard works. Because before, if you wanted to try and get a hole-in-one on the white line, you had to literally ride across the top, and it was almost impossible to get far enough out before it would drop back down. This is like those racetrack holes that we just played. from Greenwich Point. It was very, very hard to get on the right trajectory. So we'll have to see what they changed on the green. All right, that was hole number 5. Hole number 6 of the 2020 Summer Major is going to be hole number 5. Yeah, hole number 5. And this is a hole that they changed. This hole looks completely different. Now, they changed it a while ago, but this hole looks completely different than the way it did when we originally started. And I think most of the people that are going to play this hole are going to play the max overpower hook shot. There is a little tree right here. This little red tree that's right there. See the tree? And I think most people are going to use that tree as a starting point. You can use a quasar on this. You can use an extra mile and a quasar. ZAR to try and get you around the bend. And if you point your ball guide directly at that tree, I usually take the wind out. Now you don't have to do max topspin here. It's very easy when you're on this trajectory, and what I have found is it's better if you set the shot up, and what I think it was last time, I was like 1 ring to the left. So my ball guide was going directly through the tree and I moved it over 1 ring to the left. Then I adjusted the wind out, because what I was trying to do is clip this rough and then bleed out here so that I ended up right there, so that I opened this lane up to go straight at the hole. Now here's the risk. If you take this shot and you don't hit the rough and you catch the fairway, it's very easy to roll out and end up in the rough out here. And it's very easy to end up in the rough in such a position that when you're going for the green here, that you end up in this area right here and the trees are in your way, so you've got to go around the trees. And you don't have a shot at Albie. You can still pick up the eagle, but it pretty much takes Albie out. There's a very small line here, this lane, if you're going this direction. So there's several ways that you can play this hole, but I think the majority of the people that play it are going to play the max overpower hook shot, trying to get themselves out into somewhere into this zone so that they're in this lane. And you can bend yourself around the corner. If you've got a rock quarterback, something that's got tons of curl, you may be able to do it with a big topper. Something that's got lots of curl so that you can get around the bend. You can follow this lane out, but you have a small area here. If you overhit just a little bit and you're behind those trees, now you're having to curl around and you've taken your best shot out. So that's way number 1. Way number 2, if you don't like doing max overpower hook shots, there is another way. And there's 2 other ways. I'm gonna do the one on the left first. So if you hit it way down into this area, big dog. Don't bring small stuff, and don't bring a quasar if you're doing this shot down here. Anytime you're taking a shot and you go, hey, I'm gonna need a big dog on this hole, and you don't bring a power 3 ball, what the hell were you thinking? I mean, think about it. You go, hey, I'm gonna need a big dog. Why do you need a big dog? You need a big dog because you're trying to hit it as far forward as possible, and then you don't bring a power 3 ball. At least a power 3. I mean, are you trying to sabotage your big dog? If you buy your big dog because you need distance on the second shot, why aren't you helping your big? If you could bring a quasar, you could bring a sniper. Okay? If you're having to bring a big dog, you probably need to bring a Titan or a Kingmaker. Titan, the king of balls. So if you want to hit out into this area down here, the farther you can get down in close to that sand, the better. And you can bring it right up with a big dog, and you can get up and down. Your Albie shot is like, I'm not going to say it's 0, but it's pretty low percentage. But you can get a very easy eagle here. When this hole first came out, before we figured out what the max overpower hook shot was, I'll talk about the shot on the right, but I tried this shot over here just to see if we could get on, because it's pretty straightforward. You hit it straight down the field as far as you can, bring out a big dog, you go straight for the cup. And you can get up there without bringing a power 3 ball, but if you're going to bring a big dog, why wouldn't you bring a big power 3 ball? All right, the other way we can play this is you can get out into this area right here and trying to hit it straight forward. Now you can lay up on this, or you can get into this area right here and try and bridge the gap so that you're on this side of the trees trying to come at it. And I've done this shot quite a few times, and I've been in the rough, and I've been out here, and I've been in the rough, and I've been out here, and so this shot can be dialed in. So I mean, if you've got the right clubs and you can bring out the right ball, bring out a big ball, you bring out a big club that's got lots of top spin, this shot is viable, and you can get on the other side of the trees and you have a great shot from over here. So this shot over here, I think, is really going to be more dependent on the clubs that you have in your bag and maybe your ball inventory. But I think the majority of people that play this hole are going to play the max overpower hook, or trying to just get themselves around the bend so that they're out in this area. Now, if you're playing out into this area, here's a big risk thing that you can do. If you're not in the right area, you're going to have to start over here on the fairway, and you're going to have to stop it before it gets to the cup. So you're going to need a club that's got some backspin. I like to play this shot right here, my second shot. I like to play a rough bump with a sniper going from here up to the cup, and the sniper works great because it's got lots of topspin. And so you can't bring a Guardian here and do the rough bump. If you bring a Guardian, you're going to have to do the backspin shot. You can with a sniper. It has just enough backspin if you've got an upper developed sniper, and I mean you got to have a maxed out sniper. You can start off on the green and you can get it up towards the cup and get it to stop, but the best way that I found on the second shot going on this side to get to the cup is to do the rough bump. But if you're not in the right spot, if you're behind, let's say you tanked the drive and you didn't get to where you needed to get, and you hit it a little short and you're out here, or you hit it a little bit long and you're over here and you've got to go around the trees, the rough bump's kind of out of the picture, and so you got to really be careful about which club that you bring, especially if you've got like mid-level clubs where you don't have an upper developed sniper where it's got that backspin. You've got to kind of commit. So if you're bringing a sniper and you're trying to do the rough bump here, you've got to have that drive dialed in, because you don't want any variance on that drive. You want to end up in the same spot every time so that you're in your sniper range. Because if you end up missing the drive and end up in different areas, the trees are going to play a big factor. The last time we were on this hole, I had an epic fail on this hole, and I was in what looked to me at the time to be the perfect spot. I was right out in this area right here, and this damn tree right here, those little branches that are on that tree right here, it looked like I had it clear up to the cup, and my ball guide was telling me, hey, you got plenty of room. And when I hit the shot, I hit it perfect. I made the same wind adjustment I've been making all week long. We were like super close. I hit an Albie on this hole the last time we played in a tournament during the week. It was right on track, and I clipped that little teeny limb sticking out of there. So it's better to be a little bit like more in front of the shadow, like right in this area is absolutely the perfect spot, because then you're clear of the trees completely. The trees aren't in your way at all. But be careful about these trees when you're hitting through, because you can get caught up in them. All right, that was hole number, what hole was that? That was hole 5, so that was hole number 6. That was hole number 6 of the 2020 Summer Major. So hole number 7. Hole number 7 is hole number 1. And hole number 1's also been changed. And I'm not too disappointed on this hole, because I've hit a lot of eagles on this hole, but this is a tough hole. One of the things that I've noticed that they've been doing lately is they've been trying to appease the masses by making the holes easier. And this hole you could end up in a bunch of trouble on up here towards the green. And they have definitely changed this hole around. So let's go look at this hole. This hole... oh, that's the wrong one. It is right here. So they've definitely changed this hole around. We still have this landing pad that's out here, and really the white line that's in this, I've never really thought of the white line as being the way to go, because when you came into the green, you had to stop immediately. There was a rough bump that you could do, but it was a rough bump on a hill face, and the hill face is like this. And so if you hit it even just a little bit wrong, you were going to bounce straight up in the air and end up in the sand, or you were going to hit and then bounce straight back into the sand. It was a super tough rough bump to do from that angle. But that's all gone. So we now have the hole that's on the right hand side, and this looks totally different. The sand that they put here, it'll be curious with distance. So obviously when we have, because before we have a straightforward shot, we can just hit it straight forward, and we're worried about putting on too much topspin or hitting it too far out that we end up bleeding out here. And it was really hard to do that. Before you could use a power 2 ball, I played this hole a lot with the Katana. And in tournaments I played it with a Kingmaker just because I wanted on the second shot, I really wanted to cut the wind down. So it'll be really curious, and this was a great hole for a turkey ball, because you could do it with a power 2 ball and then you could cut the wind down on the second shot and you don't need a lot of side spin. So it'll be curious to see where our landing zone is out here. Is this an extra mile maxed out to get to the sand? Or are we talking about an extra miles in between clubs, and the only way that you're really going to get over there is to bring out a power 4 or a power 5 ball so that you can start off on the other side of the sand? Because if it's one of those situations where we can bring out a power 5 ball and start on the other side of the sand, then we have a legitimate shot of either getting up. In a worst case scenario, if we could get on the other side of this sand and start off over here, the way that the green's set up where you're coming around here, you could end up in this area, and that would be fantastic. I mean, that's a pretty short little chip to get up there. If we have to hit, if it's one of those situations where our red line with our extra mile is in the sand area, this might be one of those holes that would be better to play with a big topper, because we might be able to get more forward distance with our big topper. If our big topper red line's right in here, we may be able to get more distance with our big topper. So it'll be curious to see how this hole plays out. They may have flattened out the area on the right hand side in the new configuration, and this actually might be the spot coming in this way, because this way we've got a rough bump, which we don't have on the other side. So it'll be curious to see, because before in the old hole, this right here, this landing pad that was on the right, looked like this. And so it really wasn't a real good area to go to. But they may have flattened it out, and this may be a nice flat little area, and if we can make it out to this area right here, we can now come in out this way, and we have a nice little rough bump here straight to the cup. So this will have a lot to do with, the terrain, the wind. If the wind's blowing in this direction, that rough bump's going to be really awesome. If the wind's blowing in other directions, it may be better to try and get out in here. So we'll have to see how this hole's going to play out with the changes and what it actually looks like. And you all know when you're looking at these photos, like this photo over here is a little bit better, high res photo. It kind of gives you a little teeny bit of the terrain, but when they come out with the photos like this one over here, you can't tell. You look at it and then you get out on the hole and it's like, wow, this looks totally different. And that's because it does look totally different. I want to thank everybody who's in the chat. Mike Fox. And I'm not trying to ignore you guys. I am so used to just shooting videos. I'm going to take a break here and drink a cup of coffee. I'm so just used to just shooting videos and talking and doing the thing. And the chat is like way up there. I'm blind as a freaking bat. I want to thank all of you for coming to the channel. Subscribing. I appreciate it. I would not be doing this stuff if it wasn't for you guys. And that is for damn sure. It's like 9 o'clock, it's 9:21 and I'm drinking coffee. What does that tell you? And I gotta get up super early in the morning and work, so. Full day. That's why I'm trying to do this video tonight. I wanted to get the video done tonight because tomorrow I got a really full day and I didn't want to, wanted to get it out there, get the scouting report out so that we could at least take a look at the holes and try and start to develop some type of a game plan, start working on our notes. Know that when we're out there, if you're already playing Tour 6 or whatever Tour Southern Pines, I think it's in Tour 6, that if you're on certain holes, that those holes aren't going to look like what they are. So you know that there are some changes. All right, that was hole number, what hole was that? That was hole number 1. So we'll have to see on how that hole is going to play out, but it might be better to play it to the right. They may have opened it up now that we've got a rough bump up there, and play to the right, especially if you're playing pro, expert, masters. Anytime when you're playing in the upper tours where you can do a rough bump, it's always beneficial because there's no secondary wind effect when you're doing a rough bump. So if you can get to the spot where you're doing the bump and you made a right wind adjustment, you have a much better shot of it getting to the hole. That's why so many people that play upper tours and upper tournament brackets love rough bumps. All right, that was hole number 1. That was hole number 7 of the tournament. Hole number 8 of the tournament is going to be hole number 2. And there are 3 legitimate lines that you can play here. Although I will say the black line is when I first started playing and I got to this hole, the best wood that I had in my bag was a level 3 hammerhead. And with my level 3 hammerhead, I played this black line I don't know how many times. And I wedge up the way that I normally do it. If you're playing the black line, I'll cover it, even though this isn't the way to play it in a tournament, but I'll cover it. Is I'd wedge up about 3 rings. I'd be like blue ring off of this sand, blue ring off of this sand. And trying to get, so your ball guide's going off in this direction right here. I'm trying to get my first bounce, my second bounce, so that it was like right on the edge of that trap. And then you put curl on it to bring it back around so that when it swings on its arc, when it gets to this point right here, it's clipping that fringe and then just rolling up towards the cup. And so I do that a lot when I'm playing one-on-one. I take that shot because I went back and I'm trying to just remember how to shoot that shot. It's a great shot and you can get close, but it's not like if you're really trying to go for hole-in-one. I think it's probably the least desirable of the 3 ways that you can go. I think a lot of people are going to take the white line. And the white line, you can get a pretty good run at it. You can get a pretty good look at it on the white line. First bounce here, second bounce here, and then just trying to bleed it up to the cup. You can get a pretty good shot. The thing about this one is that you do not want to hit this great to the right, or you can end up catching this rough over here. And you've got to get your wind adjustment right, depending on which way the wind's blowing. So to me, a lot of times in one-on-one, it really depends on which way the wind's blowing. So if the wind is blowing this way, and I'm in this spot right here, that means I have to adjust over the sand. And you can see from the shadow here, it's a pretty steep little drop into the sand, and it can throw your adjustment off. So a lot of times if the wind is blowing in this direction, I will take the black line because then I'm pulling out here into the clear. If the wind's blowing this direction, then I will take the white line because then I can pull over here to the clear. And so I kind of work this hole when I'm in one-on-one based off of which way the wind's blowing. But in tournaments, we can bring the right stuff. And in one-on-one, I don't think I've ever done the blue line in one-on-one. But in tournaments, there's 2 things you can do. You can bring out a big enough ball so that you can get your guardian up here. And you can guardian shot it right to the hole. You can use backspin and you can take it right up to the cup. Because your guardian's got more raw distance. It's got, especially if you've got an upper developed guardian, it's got great ball guide, and you can bring it to the cup. You can also take this shot with a rocket. And the last couple times this has been in a tournament, and I've had some success on this hole with my rocket. You can come at it with a rocket, and I can't remember which ball I was using. I'm not sure that we had to use a really big ball because we're in minimum club. We're right there at minimum club with our rocket, and our rocket's got tons of backspin, especially if you got an upper developed one, and you can use your rocket to come up to the cup. It's either, for me, I'm either going to play the blue or the white line. I'm going to play whichever one's going to give me the best shot at a hole-in-one, but I have played the blue line quite a few times on this hole, and I like the blue line. In desperation, there are some ways that you can play, just for those of you, if you get to this hole in one-on-one, and you get a really bad wind and you got really crap stuff and you're not prepared for it, you can hit your extra mile right here, and just, if your opponent tanks the shot on this hole, just hit out here into the rough. Okay? I've done that I don't know how many times. I am ruthless when I'm playing one-on-one and I'm really trying to get chess. If my opponent ends up in the sand, especially if they end up in this sand trap, I'll just hit it into that sand trap. If they hit it into this sand trap and I feel like the wind is so bad that I'm going to even have problems, I will start off up here and I will literally hit out here into the rough. But there is a shot that you can do out here with an extra mile where you can clip this rough and try and bleed out. It's not going to get you up there, but if you're doing one-on-one and you want to make sure that you win a chest, it is a way to go at it. Blue line, white line, one of those two. I'm not sure which way is going to go. This hole hasn't been changed, so it'll just depend. I'm going to let Kyle decide how we're going to play this hole, because he has been kicking ass on the par 3. So I'm going to let Kyle decide how we're going to play this hole, and however Kyle plays it, that's how I'm going to play it. So anything I tell you to do and I demo on this particular hole, it's all going to be Kyle. We're going to put all the pressure on Kyle this week, and we're going to tell Kyle, you got to figure this hole out. And I've had success on this hole, but all of the success that I've had on this hole, like where I was really trying to get it, has been on the blue line as far as tournament play. All right, that was hole number 2, which is hole number 8 of the 2020 Summer Major. Hole number 9 of the 2020 Summer Major is going to be Southern Pines, hole number 4. Okay, and this is another hole. And I'm not sure when Golf Clash Notebook put this orange line in to bounce over to that spot, but the only time I've ever been able to have anything ever happen on this side right here is I hit this shot out into this area as far as I can to see if I could get up into here, and I actually did a max overpower hook shot with my sniper, hit on this area right here, started over here, and was able to actually get up on the green. And I've only been able to do it once. The blue side is pretty much, if you could get in one shot where you could bounce from here and get over to this side right here, but you can't. I don't think you can. I don't think you can get over there, even if you bring out a Power 5 ball and you had an APOC 2700. I don't think you could get over there. Most people are going to play this on the white line. And there's a couple different ways that you can play it on the white line. In the past, I played this traditionally with an extra mile and a Power 5 ball, because I really think the key to success on this hole, if there's any hole in this game, and there's quite a few of them, where the key to success is a Power 5 ball, this hole right here, can you get it done with a power? I have made eagle on this hole quite a few times with a Marlin. But if you're in a tournament and you have to get an eagle on this hole, this is not an option. You have got to get eagles on all of the par 5s in the game of Golf Clash if you're going to try and get a banner. I mean, that's just how it works. And so you can go, well, I'm going to be a purist and I'm going to bring a Marlin ball. Well, good luck. I mean, you can get an eagle with a Marlin ball, but it is rough. You're definitely going to have to take a chip shot from distance to get up there. Depending on which way the wind's blowing, that shot could be harder or easier. But there's two ways to do the white line. You can do an extra mile where you're going right up against your red line with a Power 5 ball, and you're trying to, you don't want to do any overpower on this drive. And you definitely, and I do remember that we are going to do at least a 10% wind adjustment on the drive, because it carries a lot farther than it looks. Trying to get up into this area right here where you're in the 400 plus yards. I played this hole enough that I actually remember those numbers. Look at that. I don't usually remember any numbers on a hole until I actually get out there on it and look at some notes and watch a video or do something. But we want to get up into the 400 plus range out there. The other way that you can come at this is you can bring a big topper, and you'll probably, because we're not using any overpower, you'll net more yardage with a big topper. If you're doing straight forward running distance, and in this particular case, this is a prime example. Even though your big topper is going to hit out into this area, you can get more distance with your big topper than you can with your extra mile hitting up into here. So a big topper, you can get way in the hell down in there. And this hole you can albie. I mean, this is an albiable hole, and there are several different ways that you can go at the green. If you can get out into this area right here, big dog, extra mile, APOC, whatever your particular poison is, but I would definitely recommend bringing, at a minimum, At a minimum, you can bring a Titan or an or a Kingmaker, but really, you're going to have a lot more success on this hole, a lot easier if you bring out a Power 5 ball. If you only have Power 4's ball is going to be better than the Power 3, but this is definitely a hole that lends itself to Power 5. And it becomes a much easier hole with Power 5 ball, because if you can get out into this area with Power 5, and here's the deal. The drive shot, it's not as important that you have the Power 5 ball as it is the second shot, because if you can get 400 yards plus, you have a big dog to the cup. And a big dog's going to get your red line. What you want to do with your second shot is you got to get your red line so that you're on this side of this rough, or of this rough area. You've got to be able to reach this fairway in order to have a really decent shot at it. If you're bouncing over from this fairway trying to bring it forward, even if you've got a club that's got 100% topspin, you can get out into this area, but it's very unlikely you're going to be able to get on. If you're trying to get on to the green, you really need to get in front of this little area right here. So I usually take the rough bump. The rough bump does a couple things for me. In this trajectory, I don't have to have, if you draw my red line here, I don't have to be as far forward as I do if I'm trying to hit over here. And so with a big dog, I know on the second shot I was also doing a plus 10%. And the last few times we played this in a tournament, the wind was blowing in this direction. So with a big dog, usually depending on where I'm out on my drive, and there's a little teeny bit of fluctuation there, it's usually about 5 or 6 topspin. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for that bounce to be about 3/4 of the way through this rough. And I'm not trying to get greedy because it falls off. You can see there's a little bit of a shadow on this, and it falls off on the backside, and the cup is like right about there. It's very easy to roll off and end up down on the bottom. And I see a lot of people that have ended up in the sand where they came in a little bit too hot. I find myself a lot more often where I just bled out of the rough and I'm up here on the fairway or I'm on the fringe. What really, for those of you that watch my videos on a regular basis and you know how crappy of a putter I am, where I get really screwed is where I don't get aggressive enough, and I try and get a little too aggressive, but I wasn't aggressive enough, and I end up just dribbling onto the green, and I got a pretty good putt, pretty long putt for me. The last few times we've been here, I have kind of gone for it, and you can get aggressive with this and go for it. It's worth going for it and getting aggressive just so that you can get an idea of how it'll roll off on the backside. Because if you know that you're not going to roll in the sand, that, hey, I may have gotten a little bit aggressive and I was really trying to dig my way to the cup to try and get the Albie, that's fine, as long as you're not rolling off the backside and ending up out here in the sand. Now if you're going to go and try and go around it like on the white line, you really want to start off more in this trajectory where the white line's out. So that means you have to get in front of that line. If you're going to bring, and I always take this with the big dog because like sometimes you can get a little bit farther forward where I was cleared it, but a sniper, I find with a sniper I tend to be more off in this area. I can't get in front of that line. Now if you bring a big topper on the drive and you can really drive it out there like 430, 425, somewhere in that neighborhood, you could get yourself to where you can start off in front of this area with your sniper. And what that gives you is your ball guide's going like this, but with a sniper you've got great top spin and you've got great ball guide, so you can see where you're coming out here and you can walk it around this little bit of rough to try and bring it up onto the green. So you've got a couple different ways you want to play it, and really which club you're going to bring down here and how you're going to attack the green really to me depends on how far you can hit the drive. So if you're only hitting around the 400 yard range, you're going to need to bring a big dog. And probably the best way to come at it with a big dog is to do the rough bump. But if you can hit it into the 425 or farther, it's like, what the hell? Somebody's in my backyard. My wife closing the pool door, the pool room door. Had to put water in the pool. So yeah, if you're going to come out into this area here and you want to do this, it's probably better with a sniper, but that's only going to be dependent. That's going to be dependent on how far you can hit the drive. If you can't hit the drive far enough, you're going to have to bring a big dog on this hole. But we've got 2 par 5s on this hole that I think the mass majority of players, like when we think about our bracket, I'm thinking maybe 60% aren't going to get an eagle on this hole. And it's the same thing on the other par 5, the first par 5 that we were playing. I think there's going to be a large percentage of people that aren't going to get eagles there. So if you think about like trying to pick up shots like we pick up shots on par 3s, we got 2 par 5s here that if we can just go out there and get an eagle, we can pick up shots on both of those holes over 60% of the people that are in our bracket. And that's huge. That means anything else that we can pick up shots on, we are legs up on our competition. So it's definitely good to get up there. All right, that was wow, we did all 9 of them. How long was that? Is this like the fastest? That was 56 minutes. So I guess that's about how long. I always go into these walkthroughs, and Dale Appleby always gives me a rough time about it. I always go into these scouting reports and stuff thinking, it's like 15 minutes, and then an hour later I'm done. So how's everybody doing in the chat? We got Keith, Mike Fox, Mr. Brady still here. Mike D bought me some of those shark balls, those Megalodon balls, and I think there's a couple holes in here that those balls might work on, just because they're low wind. If we were bringing out a power 5 ball, this particular hole right here, I found that I can't. It'll depend on which driver you're using. If you're using an Extra Mile or an Apocalypse, you're probably not using the wind on either shot. You're taking the wind out, so this might be one, and you don't really need a lot of curl on either shot. This might be a hole that could work on. I think that those balls are going to be one of those balls that we don't pull out all the time, but when we're on one of those holes, we go, wow, this is the ball. Especially when we're driving the green on a par 4, where we're using a power 5 ball to drive the green on a par 4, and being able to take the wind out and control the wind a little bit better is going to make a huge, huge difference. So how's everybody doing? You guys had a great tournament. I did a clan video earlier today, and it's amazing. Just the quality of players that play in the clans. I'm actually gonna read some of the chat here and actually pay. What I should be doing, dumbass me. What I should be doing is watch the stream on my phone so that I can pay better attention to the chat. Instead of looking at the computer, I've got 4 devices. I have an iPad in the house, which is like the little bus thing, and I have a bunch of devices, and I could be sitting here with a whole bunch of devices on me, watching it. I could be actually sitting in my office where I have a freaking 48-inch TV. And I could have it up on the TV, and I could just look this way, and it'd be like big kindergarten letters, and I'd be able to actually read what's on the deal. I know, I got it within inside an hour. Dale, look at that. I cannot believe that I was able to get it within an hour. So I'm going to sit here and talk for 52 seconds so that I can at least get like 1 hour just to piss you off. Par for the course, yeah, and it is. It really does. When you sit here and you look at all the different ways you can play these holes, it really does. It's 50 or 60 minutes. Just thinking about all of the different ways that you can come at it. I'm curious to see on the 4 holes that they changed, especially on hole number 2 of the tournament, which is hole number 6. I'm curious to see like what changes they made, because like looking at the picture, it doesn't look like they made any changes at all. So it must all be just the way that the green is sloped. Be curious to see what that is, but I'll start playing. Hopefully they'll come out with the way that it's been. They come out with the new holes on Thursday, so tomorrow's Wednesday. So if you're playing Southern Pines between now and then, just realize that anything that you play for Southern Pines hole number 7, 6, 9, and 1 are different, and the rest of them are going to be the same. All right. Thanks for coming today. Hopefully everybody had... Desmond, I will tell you, let's talk about minimum score. You absolutely have to look at this at minimum score as -12. I mean, there's just no two ways around it. There are a few holes in the game. There are a few par fives in the game that I can think of. I can't remember what course they're on, but there's a few of them that I can think of that really are birdie holes with an eagle opportunity. Where we think of most par fives as being eagle shots with an Albie opportunity, there are a few. And most people would look at these two par fives, this par five right here, and what is the other par five? I think it's hole number 8. This par five right here. Yes, these two par fives, I think a lot of people, the majority of the people, are going to look at these two par fives and think birdie with an eagle opportunity. And I think that both of these holes are very eagleable. Very eagleable. So we have got to go in with the mindset that this is a -12 tournament. And this is going to be a really good tournament as far as scoring. Because I think minimum score we're looking for is -24. And this is going to be one of those types of tournaments that I think for a lot of people that are out there, there's 2 holes right there. So like a lot of people are looking at like -10. So you're going to see people who are shooting the 24 are going to be very high up in the standings, because I think a lot of people are going to come into this shooting a -20, maybe a -22 if they can figure out one of the holes, or maybe they pick one of them up on each side. But I think the minimum score of -24 is going to be pretty tight. So like looking at towards the weekend round, I'll have to sit and really go through the holes as far as opportunities to pick up some. There's a lot of tough holes in Southern Pines to pick up shots, but the 4 that they've changed were some of the harder holes to pick up shots on as far as the non-par 5s. And so they may have made some of those easier, because there was at least 2 of those that we looked at where there's rough bumps now and there wasn't rough bumps before, so that's going to change the whole little deal. I think, Mike, the way that it looks here, a -20 is probably going to be in most people's minds the minimum score, because I think they're going to look at this hole and the last hole as being whatever that hole was, hole number 4. I think they're going to look at hole number 4 and hole number 8 as being birdie holes, and so literally this could be -18 makes the weekend round, just depending on your bracket. You know, if you get lucky in a bracket, you could see people shooting this is going to be another one of those tournaments where you're going to get a lot of people bitching at the end of the tournament. Well, how in the hell did you get a 26 or a 28? And they went into it looking at it as it was a minimum -20 tournament. And for those people that are trying to be up at the top of the bracket, every tournament starts off at minimum of -24. It's -12 a side. Occasionally it'll be -11, but I really think that our minimum score should be -24 to start off with, and then we'll have to see how these new holes play out, because we may have some opportunities to pick some up, but this is definitely going to be one of those tournaments that's going to be unlike what we've played a lot in the past, or here just in the last several months, where we could see 26s, 28's going to be like anything better than a 28. So like on my notes, I'll have to go through it, but I think like in my notes, -13 in the qualifier is kind of where I want to start off, kind of slow at the beginning of the week, give myself good opportunities, because that's going to be a great tiebreaker, I think, for most brackets. Anything better than a -13 in the qualifier is obviously going to be better. Going into the opening round, -26 plus, trying to get towards -27, -28, and then the weekend round, -28 plus. That's picking up the 24 and trying to pick up 2 on a side. I think it's definitely doable, but the par 5s are where we're going to make our money, and where we're going to beat a lot of people in our bracket is if we can dial those par 5s in and get eagles both times. Yeah, and Mike, I love. Playdemic is trying to make the holes easier, and you can see that from the last tournament that we played. The last tournament, the Highlands tournament, the holes that they changed, especially the 2 par 5s, they made those holes more playable for the average player, and not just club. You know, if they have upper developed clubs or lower developed clubs, that really doesn't matter on those holes. When you came to those holes, you had to bring the right club and the right ball, and you had to put yourself in the right spot, and you had to do all 3 of those. You couldn't come out there and go, well, hey, I got the right club. Well, you put yourself in the wrong spot. You didn't bring the right ball. You had to do all of those things to be successful on that hole. And they changed those 2 par 5s in the last tournament to the point where now it didn't matter. You could bring any club and any ball, and if wherever you ended up out there, you had an area now that you could bounce over and you could get up to the green. And they made it so that you didn't have red line issues. And it's like, dude, you brought the wrong damn ball. You're in the perfect spot. You brought the right club, but you brought the wrong ball. And so Playdemic is trying to make this easier for the masses, because the masses are bitching that there's too many people winning multiple banners, and I'm not getting a banner. Did you practice? I didn't practice last week. I played maybe 8 hours, and I didn't get a banner. Did I deserve to get a banner playing 8 hours last week? Hell no, I didn't deserve to get a banner. I didn't put in the effort. I didn't put in the time. I didn't do the stuff that it takes to actually win a banner. And I think a lot of players play exactly like I played last week. They go out there and they play the holes and they don't get great results, and then they look at the top and they go, well, I shot a 27 and those guys were at 33. That's bullshit. That's not even possible. It's absolutely possible because they shot it. Okay? And there was a lot of people that shot over 30, over 31. And so the deal is that those people put in the time and effort to go out there and actually learn to play the holes and how to get into the hole. And they brought the right stuff, they brought the right ball, they were in the right spot, and they made the right adjustment because they practiced and they got together with their teammates and they watched video and they did the stuff. And then there's that group of people that go, well, all you guys are doing is just practicing shots and just repeating it and making, what the, oh, just like, have you ever played sports before, dumbass? Come on. Do you think that pro teams never practice and play football? More people play football. I mean, football is a big sport in America, right? They play those plays over and over. They practice them over and over. The other team, I watched an interview one time with a team, and they were talking about San Francisco back in the heyday, back in the early 80s, and they were like, man, we'd be on the defense and we'd see them set up and we go, oh shit, they're going to play that play. And we knew what play they were going to play, but they practiced that play so many times that it didn't matter whether we knew it or not. They did the play, and they got their 5-6 yards, and they got a first down, and they did the thing, and it's like we couldn't stop them. We just knew. And you know how they did that? They practiced, and they practiced, and they practiced. Did they practice it and go, hey, this time let's practice it different? No, they practiced the same effing shit every time. That's how they got good at that stuff. So, to all of those people out there that say, well, you guys are just doing it, screw them. Okay? That's all BS. You're only going to get good at something if you practice. That's just how it works. I didn't make the rules, man. That's just how it works. Yeah, minus 39. That is a monster score. The best score I've ever shot is minus 35, and I will tell you that I couldn't repeat it. In the weekend round, I shot a 33. I got a 35 in the opening round of the Community Cup, and that's the best round that I've ever shot. I've shot 32s. I've shot several 32s. I don't know if I've shot a 33. I've shot a bunch of 31s, 30s. But those, shooting up there at 39 or shooting at 36, those are just monster scores. That is literally being on fire. I will tell you the good news was that in the Highland tournament, even though in the weekend round, if it wouldn't have been for hole number one, I would have actually had a pretty good round. A minus 28 would have been a pretty good round. I couldn't pick up hole number 4 to save my ass. But I was really kind of excited because I hit a lot of perfects. So I finally have gotten rid of the lag issue. And I was really excited. I hit a lot of perfects. I didn't make any extra. I didn't pick up a single shot. I was super close on a bunch of holes, but I didn't pick up a single shot. But I was really excited that I was hitting a lot of perfects. And so that at least gave me some encouragement that I'm past the lag issue and I can still play. Maybe. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming. And hopefully I'm going to, as soon as those holes come out on Thursday, I'll try and get on and try and catch those holes so that I can post some videos. I'm going to try my hardest to get really motivated this week and really start putting some content out. The last 4 weeks, I have been totally, the lag issue with the Redwood Cup when they came out with the new needle was so bad that the game was literally not playable. And I kind of got out of playing. I mean, I really haven't played that much in the last month. In the last 3 tournaments, I played the absolute minimum that it took to play, to shoot videos, to help people out, and to show people, you know, different ways to come at it and just give people an idea. And me going out there and epic failing probably helped people and, you know, showed you what not to do. But I'm really going to try and get hyped up about next week's tournament because I won the winter major, I won the spring major, I've won a summer major. The only major I'm missing is the fall major, but I have an opportunity to get a career Grand Slam this year by winning the fall, but I also have the opportunity of getting 4 in a row and winning a year Grand Slam. So I'm going to play this week. I am going to get excited about playing. I've played Southern Pine. I've played these holes a bunch of times. We've got a little bit of changes on 4 of the holes, but I'm going to get motivated this week, and I'm going to play all of my accounts as often as I can. I told my wife earlier today, I said, don't even think about talking to me next week because I'm going to play, and I'm going to play a lot next week. So I am going to try and get back into it and get a little bit motivated because it's a major. And I really want to go back out there. I was on a pretty good streak and I had a lot of success so far this year, but the last 4 tournaments, I just haven't practiced, and that's what you get. All right, thanks for watching. Yeah, Grand Slam. Well, you've got to be close there, Desmond. I mean, how many majors have you won? I mean, you had I think you're on the same track, right? You win the summer and the fall major here this year. Did you win the fall major? You had to have won the fall major. So you could be on a calendar year just by winning this one right here. Well, a 12-month, right? Yeah, we all want to win, but we do want to win a Grand Slam. That would be great. To have four majors would be nice, but trying to get a Grand Slam would be awesome. All right, thanks for watching, and I will continue to post videos this week as